On the News Hour debate tonight, R.C. Bhargav, Chairman of Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhargav. I think it's the first time you're on News Hour tonight. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Prasenjit Bose, left-leaning economist.
Thank you.
Lord Meghnad Desai is joining us from London. Ravi Shankar Prasad is joining us from Delhi, Deputy Leader of the Opposition in the Rajya Sabha. We will be joined, we will not go unrepresented from the Congress. The Congress spokesperson Rajiv Gaura is joining us in a minute. But before I go into that part, Lord Desai, Chidambaram says, given what is happening in other countries in the world, I think we are doing pretty well. Do you agree with that?
No, I think even if other countries are not doing so well, India is not doing so well compared to what it could do and what it used to do. So I think he has to admit, and I'm sure he knows, that some of the shortfall in growth is because of the policy paralysis we've had. And the state of the rupee and the fact that the Reserve Bank of India had to increase interest rates, yet again reversing its previous policy, shows that there is a serious crisis in the economy. And the industrial production figures are not very good. So I think Chidambaram will have to say something much more specific and concrete if he believes that the growth rate is going to be revived in the economy.
No, I agree.
I think time is running out.
I agree, but that acknowledgement is missing. That acknowledgement is missing, and that is why we are getting increasingly worried. The government seems to be quite happy at moving at the pace that it does. It's very happy at the pace at which it responded to the fall of the rupee.
The problem is this. The problem is this, Arnab. Half of the Congress party, the left half, doesn't believe in budget constraint, doesn't believe in ruling out, reducing deficit. They just want to spend. On food security, Narega, whatever it is. It is the finance minister and the prime minister and the deputy chairman of planning commission who are worried about economy, but they don't have sufficient power to do anything.
Yeah. The point is even more than powers.
Around trying to invite investment.
More than powers, they have not done anything. But I am told that R.C. Bhargav, before I welcome Rajiv Gaura, R.C. Bhargav, before I go into straight political debate, I believe you don't completely blame the government, that is your view. Why is that your view, Mr. Bhargav, and why do you think so?
You see, what I believe is that the sector of the economy which is of the greatest concern is the industrial manufacturing sector. The agricultural sector has some problems, but it has been carrying on like that for a long time. And the services sector has been a little bit of a decline for the last 2 years, but there are no major problems in the services sector. The manufacturing sector is one which has declined substantially, and I believe the reasons for this are not something which has happened recently, but over a long period of time in India, we have neglected the manufacturing sector. India ranks 132 in terms of ease of doing business. It's not something which has happened in the last year or 5 years. It is something which is the result of what's been happening over the last 50 years. In terms of cost competitiveness, we have over a period of time neglected to make industry cost competitive. All authorities think that their job is not to facilitate cost competitiveness of the private sector, but they act more as regulators. And as a result of this, over decades, the manufacturing sector used to survive at one time because there was no competition, but now when competition has come in, the global markets have opened out, and there's a downturn in the economy, we find we are just not able to do what is required to be done. So it's not something which one can blame on just one government or on the central government, because a large part of manufacturing activities, its costs, its delays, are related to what happens in state governments. So it's a combination of state governments, central government, plus the fact that a large number of the entrepreneurs, a large majority of them, have failed to win the confidence either of the politicians or of the bureaucracy or of the public. They are largely suspect for their actions, and therefore this situation where both sides suspect each other prevents anything happening.
Mr. Bhargav, with great respect to you, I feel in your opening remarks you're blaming everyone but the government. 1.16%. 1.6% is the index of industrial production. And when the Prime Minister calls a meeting of industrialists, he calls it on the 29th of this month, after 2 weeks. Is that the reaction time we responded? Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, I think it's time to come to you. Mr. R.C. Bhargava, given the opening remarks, says it's not the responsibility of the UPA 2 alone. This is not a problem that happens in 9 years. Your response?
Well, don't try to embarrass Mr. Bhargava. The way things are happening on the manufacturing sector, industrial front in the last so many years, particularly under the UPA, is too well known under an economist Prime Minister. But let me come to one basic issue, Arnab Goswami. Mr. Chidambaram is not owning up the accountability of gross mismanagement of Indian economy by the government of India. Let me give you one example which would suffice very clearly. Infrastructure sector is an area on which there is no dispute, whether it's FDI or whatever it is. Now let me see 4 core areas of infrastructure. Telecom, under serious controversy because of corruption, gross mismanagement. What happened in 2G, you know it very well. Power sector, 67% of India is based upon thermal power based, coal. What happened in coal block allocations, corruption, policy paralysis. Today the entire power sector is in a mess. More than 1 lakh crore of bank money is involved there. Third, national highway. Again an area of shining growth. Today there is corruption in National Highway Authority, CBI and whatnot. The entire highway has come to a knot. Real estate, again a shining example of growth sector. Real estate is also in a mess because of reasons you know it very well, who is being benefited, what rules are being bent. Now here is an area, if I can say on first principles, good economics and good politics go hand in hand if there is good governance. And good governance is the biggest casualty under UPA led by Congress party. And why is it when their production is 5% less or GDP is going down, at the same time, be it Gujarat, be it Madhya Pradesh, be it Chhattisgarh, be it Goa or maybe some of their states are registering 10% plus growth rate? Even manufacturing is going there because there is a stability, no policy paralysis, clarity, and also corruption index is very low. Because these are important issues which the UPA led by Congress is not willing to acknowledge. It is happening under an economist prime minister. Our economy is getting totally mismanaged.
Rajiv Gowda, I think you're on a very weak wicket tonight because everyone's saying one thing. The symptoms have been there. The symptoms have been there of the lag in your economy, of inflation, of falling growth. Even the rupee, Rajiv Gowda, falls to 8 to 10 days. And I'm sorry to have to say this, senior officials of the government of India are traveling and holidaying abroad while the rupee is on free fall and they do absolutely nothing. Now, either you can expect the market to intervene and save the situation or your government intervenes. The one question everyone wants to ask you is you cannot make up your mind. Your government cannot make up its mind on how to react to this kind of a situation. What does that reflect but complete indecision and policy paralysis, Mr. Gowda?
Arnab, there are multiple points in response to your statements here. One, take a look at the fiscal deficit. That has been kept under tight control.
Really?
So, the last budget that Mr. Chidambaram presented was, yes, absolutely.
Really?
Come on.
Was well within.
What is your definition of tight control, Mr. Gowda?
Second,
What is your definition of tight control, Mr. Gowda?
well, at a time when many countries are going through recessions and are spending much more freely, we ended up maintaining the exact 5-point-something percentage that he had promised, and he kept to that. Now, let's go to the other issues involved.
Well, I thought the fiscal deficit was projected at 542,499 crore. Is that tight control, Mr. Gowda? Are you sure of your facts?
We're talking about a percentage.
Well, I'm talking about the reality.
We're well within the range of what was.
What is your range? On top of it, you have a fiscally draining scheme like the food bill. Now, are you sure of your facts on the fiscal deficit, or have you gone wrong right at the start tonight?
Absolutely. Please go check on what Mr. Chidambaram presented last time and where it fit. Now, along with that, we have to look at the other economies and what's happening. We are coupled with the larger global economy. Our growth rate has slowed down, but it has not slowed down, in comparison to, to the other BRICS. We are actually doing much better. And then the real issues here are about
we discussing
current
India or
account
Brazil, Mr.
That
Gowda?
continues to be a major challenge.
Are we discussing
And
India or Brazil tonight? I want to discuss
we are
India.
discussing India. Yeah, Arnab, I'd be happy to send you to Brazil, but we're discussing India. here.
I'm
Okay.
sure you would like
Now,
to
the
send me
basic
to
point
Brazil,
is
but I'd rather
here,
stay in India and
current
discuss
account
India.
deficit. Okay, the current account deficit has some major issues, and that is really the problem that we're trying to address. Today, you've seen the Prime Minister basically presiding over a meeting that has opened up foreign direct investment in a variety of sectors. That's the kind of decisive action that we've been waiting for, and we've been getting it. Basically, what we need in India is foreign inflows of which have a longer term perspective, not shorter term inflows which come and go depending on global.
No, you have not
markets,
answered my. You've just not answered
So
my
those
question.
kinds of
You're not
changes
answered
are
my
happening
question.
now.
No, you've not answered my question. My basic question. You're
probably
basically
asking the
wrong
wrong
on the
question now.
fundamentals of the issue. Where Prasenjit wants to take your. I see two hands go up now. Ravi Shankar Prasad and Meghnad Desai. Would you like to intervene at this point? Okay, why don't we go in with one intervention? Okay, Prasenjit wants to also open up the debate, then we'll open it up to debate. Okay, Prasenjit, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I think I would like to remind Mr. Gora that he is admitting here that the current account deficit is a problem. But did your finance minister today accept that? Did he address the issue when he was addressing the press conference? He actually said that we are doing pretty well, completely oblivious of the fact that we have a huge current account deficit problem, and that is precisely where it is so different. I mean, if you are talking about the BRICS economies, yes, they are facing problems, but show me one BRIC economy which is today having a current account deficit of over 5% of GDP. Second, the kind of depreciation and the sharp depreciation of the rupee that we have seen, which is also having an impact on the domestic prices of oil, I suspect of fertilizer and coal very shortly. What is the finance minister saying? He is saying that leave it to the market. The rupee will find its own price. That means he is showing utter complacency. I don't think that the government is actually addressing or in fact even admitting the fact that there is a problem in the economy. I think that is a very pathetic situation.
Has the government gone into a shell, Mr. Gowda? Has the government gone into a shell on the economy?
Okay. Let me rebut now. Let me rebut that. First, Mr. Chidambaram and the RBI governor, many people have been flagging the current account deficit as a problem. He may not have done it in today's press conference.
No,
I do not know
today,
that.
where did
but
he say that today?
This
He
is
said
an
we are
issue that
doing
we are
pretty
very
well.
well aware of. Second, the policy is to let the rupee float. The policy is not to aim for a particular number in terms of the exchange rate. Okay, that has been the policy, and that is decisive in its own way. The basic issue is what is happening.
Why did the RBI increase the interest rates today then?
Down. That's because we want to prevent volatility. We want to prevent speculative movement.
Mr. Gowda, let me simplify this. No, Mr. Gowda,
trying to reach a psychological.
Mr. Gowda, no, watch it. Mr. Bhargav is a car manufacturer. He will understand my analogy. No, watch it. I want to bring it to fundamentals. One second. Mr. Gowda, 1 minute.
Hold on.
I want to finish my point.
No.
I want to finish my point.
I am taking today a simple analogy, Mr. Gowda. Allow me just one brief intervention.
Getting stronger. Hold on.
One intervention. I want to use the car analogy. Mr. Bhargav is the chairman of Maruti Suzuki. He will understand this analogy. Now, cars are not selling, okay? White goods in India are not selling. Ask Mr. Bhargav, he will accept it. On top of it, you harden your interest rates. So your loans become expensive. Your EMIs go up, right? So car sales will go down again. Companies will shut down. Employment will be affected. All of this, all of this has a spiraling effect. Now, what is the reason? The reason is this. The reason is this, sir, that your government has never reacted on time. The falling rupee is a result of capital inflows, sir. Capital outflows, sign that investors do not have confidence in the Indian markets. Today you are hiking FDI in 4 sectors. Why didn't you do something earlier? What was holding you back?
Arnab, may I now?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So basically, when you look at the rupee dollar rate, okay, essentially what's happening is that the American dollar is getting stronger. Quantitative easing may be ending there. As a result, that becomes a much more attractive investment destination. That is why monies are flowing out of here, not having anything to do with the fundamentals of India. It has to do with the American market getting more attractive.
No.
That's how these global markets play out.
No, I want to.
The government can act yesterday or today or tomorrow. It has acted today. Let's be happy with that action.
Now the
You're wrong on the issue of what interest rates the RBI has played
can I
with.
make a quick remark
RBI
here?
has basically just focused on that specific interest rate that is about overnight borrowings by particular banks. It has nothing to do with the rate
Sir, I want to understand your thinking.
Okay?
Sir, I want to understand your thinking, Mr. Gowda. You are saying
with the rate that messes around with,
sir, you know,
with the rupee speculation.
Sir, you have.
Let's not create unnecessary panic over something which is different from what is actually being done.
Sir, you're accusing. Sir, you are accusing us of creating panic. Sir, you are accusing us of creating panic. People are losing jobs.
You're talking about the RBI
people are losing jobs. People are losing jobs. Investors are leaving the country. Your EMIs have become more expensive. Your food price inflation has gone through the roof. How can you talk about creating panic, sir? In most Indian households today, there would be a sense of panic about what your government is doing. Ravi Shankar Prasad is rebutting you at this time. 23 minutes past 9. Mr. Prasad's rebut to the Congress party. He has heard you for some time.
First of all, under Congress regime, everything is going high, everything is going down, except inflation and fiscal deficit, current and both. Whether you talk of employment, you talk of price rise, you talk of export import, you talk of manufacturing, everything. Or now this whole dependence on foreign money, when only 9 months is left of their government. Foreign money is hot money, it's fragile, it comes and goes. But you flagged a very important issue. Why Indians are not investing in India? Huge Indian money is not being invested in India because they don't trust this government. They don't trust there is any policy stability. They are scary of their extraneous and corruption records. Therefore, Indians today are not investing in India. That is very important. They need to understand. The savings are down. The Indian investment is down. These are serious issues which provide stability to economy, for which there is no answer. Second, I take on with Chidambaram on a more fundamental issue, which he said in his press conference today, that we pander to equity more than growth. I'm sorry, Arnav, it is utter nonsense. And I say with full sense of responsibility. The same Mr. Chidambaram was tom-tomming 8% plus growth rate, which is the legacy of the stable fiscal regime we left under the NDA. Now when the chips are down, you are talking about that. A good equity cannot come unless there is good growth. And the good growth is not coming because of lack of credibility, lack of trust, gross mismanagement, corruption and policy paralysis, you rightly pointed out. And these fundamental issues are not being addressed. I'm asking a question to you. How is it that vegetable prices are soaring?
Absolutely.
People react to it, including middle class.
Absolutely.
They are saying creating panic.
Absolutely.
And my last
That's an accusation. Yes.
2009, Dr. Manmohan Singh publicly said, 100 दिन में हम कीमतें कम करेंगे. Sonia Gandhi also said, 100 दिन is now more than 4 years. What happened? Come on, you cannot take the people for granted. Unemployment is down. Unemployment is down. People are having scared all over the country.
Lord Desai.
There's no response to all this.
I'm getting him back. Mr. Bhargav, you're listening to the debate. It's tilting very strongly against the government, I feel, at this stage of the debate. I'll coming back to you, but I'd like to go to Meghnath Desai. I think you want to intervene just after Meghnath Desai, Mr. Bhargav. The question is simply this, and it may sound very simplistic, but it's a very basic question. This government works within 24 hours to clear the basis for the Jet Etihad deal. In the last week of April, the prices of vegetables have been going up and skyrocketing between 2005 and 2013. Investors have been fleeing the country. Critical decisions have not been taken. Meetings have been postponed. The bureaucracy has been stonewalling and been allowed to stonewall. But when it wants, this government sits together and clears the India-UAE aviation deal that might potentially benefit one company. And the question will be asked, that when it comes to doing that kind of a deal, Mr. Gowda, or pushing the food security bill, you will push that through an ordinance and this through quick action. But you don't seem to be caring about the people of this country, Mr. Gowda. That is the question that is really being asked to you tonight. I think you'll have to answer firmly on that one. Lord Meghnad Desai, your turn. You've heard the Congress representative.
Well, so one problem with the deficit is that in the budget, Chidambaram did not allow for food security bill. He had made no budgetary provision for that. If the food security ordinance is passed and implemented, the deficit outcome will be much worse than the budgeted deficit. That is absolutely clear. Secondly, the current account deficit is bad because of capital outflow. Indians are going abroad, they're sending money abroad, and therefore, in increasing the interest rates to stop the falling of the rupee, I think the situation is going to be made much worse.
Now, is the government getting it wrong? Lord Desai, could you stick your neck out tonight like you do so well? Is the government getting it wrong? Do you buy the argument that the government's only the victim of global factors? What is your sense? What's your rebut to the Congress representative?
The government is not. Government has chosen to go for food security, spend money, hopefully have an early election, so that the deficit outcome will not be clear till after the election. If the government wins the election, they'll handle the budget deficit.
But that's a very irresponsible way of looking at the economy, isn't it?
The problem of whoever wins. So it is. This is this. Yeah, but this is the politics of the situation is food security is the one weapon the government has decided. Forget inflation, forget deficit, forget current account deficit, forget rupee. Go for food security, and that is going to be the great panacea. I think that is a mistake.
Well, there you are, Rajiv Gowda. People are seeing through the government strategy. And I don't think, Mr. Bhargav, do you think today, no, Mr. Gowda, do you think, Mr. Bhargav, that 8 months before a general election, investors are going to start lining up and say, you know what, this government didn't do anything for this long, but it's 8 months to the election, they've done a little bit on FDI, let's go back and start investing in India. Are they going to look at it that way, Mr. Bhargav?
No, the investment decisions are not taken that way. But as I said earlier, Arnab, people are not investing the way they should invest in India because it's so hard to do business in India, to set up any business.
Exactly.
The 132 position in the global ranking is something we shouldn't just overlook. And it's not, as I said, happened. I don't see very much happening if we continue with the game of blaming each other in finding solutions to what is obviously a problem of the economy. What's happening now is a serious problem. It needs some serious concrete solutions to be worked out. The past growth of the economy which happened and for which we felt very happy when we had a 9% growth, was driven essentially by the services sector. A sector which is now today almost 60% of the economy, was growing in double digits at that time, and that led to this high growth period. The manufacturing sector now is the only thing left for us because services sector cannot maintain that high rate of growth. And unless we fix the services sector, bring down the costs of manufacturing, stop the manufacturing sector from subsidizing other segments of the economy, which seems to be the practice.
9 years.
In most states.
9 years is not long enough, Mr. Bhargav, for... No, I understand your point, but I'm asking today a more clear issue of governance. The UPA, Mr. Gowda, you can disagree with me as much as you like. If for 9 years you haven't understood, your industrial growth is down to almost zero. Your manufacturing sector is not going anywhere. Your agricultural sector has plateaued. How much will you keep straining the services sector? And 9 years is not long enough for you to understand that, Mr. Gowda?
What have been the growth rates? May I? What have been the growth rates of India over the last 9 years? They've been spectacular.
How much will you hide behind the growth rate of the last 9 years?
Global recession. We had 8-9% growth rates in the early days of the UPA. Okay, so that is now.
I am talking about here and now, sir. I am talking about here and now, and I don't think the people of this country. I am talking about the rupee slide.
9 years, boss. I'm not coming up with 9 years. I'm talking about 9 years.
I'm talking about here and now.
9 years have been good. Okay, it's only in the last 2-3 years that we have seen a recession. Yes, here and now we are as much tied into global flows. Now there is a green light out there as well. If America is strengthening, right, that is not something for us to feel panicked about. It is something that means that here is a market
Mr.
that
Gowda,
is a very good trading partner.
Mr. Gowda, let's be real. Let's be real. 1 second. What's global factors?
Hold on, Arnab. Listen,
hold on, Mr. Gowda.
Hold on here. Hold on and let me finish.
Mr. Gowda.
Come on, when are you going to give me that sentence? Yeah, time to put a sentence in.
Well, finish your sentence, but you're not coming to the point.
It's your turn. Go ahead.
No, my question to you is, Mr. Gowda, you tell me tonight and tell all the viewers of Newshour a simple question. No, simple question to you. Did anyone in the world tell the government not to address the falling rupee earlier? Is that global factors that the government did not nudge the RBI to address the falling rupee earlier before the situation came to such a pass? Is it global factors that there was not an earlier intervention that could have stopped the decline? Did global factors stop your government from that? Tell me.
What are you reading in the decline? The decline of the rupee.
Delayed action, Mr. Gowda.
Market prices between American dollar and Indian rupee. It is not a reflection on the inherent strength and capabilities of the Indian market. Those continue to be good. Now, the other points that you were raising, there's an inherent contradiction in what you say, Arnab. If the government acts decisively, you say, oh, they cleared it overnight.
Please,
if they make
let's not
today,
be so.
You say they should have done it 5 years ago. Why are you having a problem with decisive action?
Sir, please, I don't think,
and it doesn't have to be with 9 months and an election in mind. If we open up the market for a good FDI with long-term interest to come in, it is in the interest of the nation, it is good for the government.
I take the response.
It is good for future governments that may get elected.
Fine.
It is not a short-term election-oriented measure.
1 second.
It is one of the best measures you can have to strengthen the economy.
Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is responding to you. You didn't answer my question on whether anyone in the world told you, whether Barack Obama or the IMF told you not to respond earlier as far as the falling rupee is concerned, and whether the world told you also not to do enough to boost investor confidence in the past, or whether your own policy paralysis led you to that. But I'm not taking a position. Ravi Shankar Prasad is responding. Mr. Prasad, your response to Rajiv Gowda, who says everything is only due to global factors.
No. First of all, if everything is linked to global factor, then wind up the finance ministry or no? What is the need for that? A huge country like India, you have got inputs as to how the entire economy is being grossly mismanaged. There is corruption. There is lack of stability in the policy regime. There is policy paralysis. There is lack of coordination among ministers and the Prime Minister. Do we need to highlight that? We have discussed ad nauseum about that. But your falling rupee part, or no, I would like to highlight something different. Why is the Congress representative taking the tumbling rupee so casually? It has enormous cascading effect on the very worth of India, the worth of India's economy, import, export, everything. The inflation index is going to shoot up again, coupled with the sudden rise again in petroleum prices. Therefore, the casual way they have handled it as if it was not a problem at all, let the market take care of itself, I'm sorry to say, was the typical ostrich-like mentality. And the way they have sought to manage the entire economy. Now, earlier everything was, now this is going from 2008. American situation has improved after the subprime crisis. Now, why it has not impacted you? And let me tell you why the real reason is. The real reason is they have got no answer as to why they have grossly mismanaged the economy. Policy paralysis, corruption, lack of decision. Mr. Bhargav, read in between the lines. It has become very difficult to do business in India. Those are telling eloquent words. And above all, Indians not investing in India, because I'm sorry to say, even Indian entrepreneurs are not trusting this government. Well, these are important issues which they need to address, which they are not addressing at all.
Well, precisely, and I can quote 1,000 global statistics, by the way, Mr. Rajiv Gowda, to counter your thing that everything is happening as per world levels. If I were to quote some figures to you, they would really shock you on where we were 9 years back and where we are now. I'm going to come to that in a minute. Prasenjit Bose and Lord Desai, your response to the Congress representative. Prasenjit first.
Yeah, Arnab, I mean, first of all, I think that let us not turn this only into a Congress bashing exercise, because I think that the fact is that the global situation is actually bad. So let us first recognize that to have a sober debate. The point, we should judge the government in terms of what it should have done, it could have done, it has not done, or whether it is doing something that is wrong. I think that is, let us have an objective debate and let us not spread it into so many things like food security.
I only find it very interesting. I find it very interesting, Prasenjit Bose, that Prasenjit Bose, who was recently with the CPM, is coming to the Congress party's defense. And there has been a lot of talk of the left and Congress coming together.
Hear me out.
No, it's just an observation.
Hear me out.
It's just an observation. Go ahead.
It is becoming. That is reason. The reason is that I think that one should have it in proper perspective. Mr. Prasad is making so many criticisms about the Congress party, but I don't know what is the policy perspective, alternative policies that he has to offer to take the economy out of the situation.
Right.
He's talking about corruption. We saw what happened in Karnataka. So his good governance and transparency, we know what has happened.
I want to ask you something, Prasenjit.
So let us have a proper debate.
Prasenjit, let me ask you something.
Let us have a debate on the state of the economy.
And let me ask you
something. Let us have a debate on the economy.
Yes, Prasenjit, and I'll tell you one thing. If you think everything is, because I find it absolutely a wonderful tactical move that you've come to the Congress party's defense. Let me ask you as a counter to your global phenomenon argument. Let me ask you as a counter to your global phenomenon argument that ratings agency Moody said in a report last month, not last year, that food prices in India are rising faster than the global rate. The World Bank Food Price Index for emerging countries rose 3% year on year. For developing emerging countries, 3% year on year in the past 12 months. You know what India went by? More than 10%. That's 333%, the global average. What's your answer to that, Prasenjit? You have no concern for that?
Yeah, so I can actually read you even more statistics to show how the Indian economy is actually doing more badly than many other economies in the world. That is not my point. I am not coming to the government's defense. What I am just saying is that let us have the debate in a proper perspective. The global situation is bad. You are talking. Why I am saying so is that this whole emphasis on opening up to more FDI, etc. You opened up the retail sector to FDI 6 months back. $1 of FDI has come in the retail sector. That is not the solution. That is what I am trying to tell you. That you have the debate in perspective. You are having capital outflows today. Wait. Hear me out first. Please hear me out. You are having the capital outflows today because you allowed these inflows in the first place.
I agree with you.
Hot money that was allowed to come in first. Then nobody said anything. Now they are going out. So the point is, what is your economic paradigm from which you are making a criticism?
So Prasenjit,
this whole thing, this government, my critique of this government is not that this government has been indecisive or that this government is,
of course it's indecisive.
Socialist part of this government, as Lord Desai was saying. This crisis that we are seeing in India today, this global crisis and what is happening in India today is basically a result of the right-wing economic policies of this government.
I'm sorry,
that
Prasenjit.
Is the why we are having
I'm very sorry to tell you this, Prasenjit, but I believe strongly with a great respect for you. And you know I have great respect for you. But I think you've badly mixed up your political and your economic argument tonight. Because what you're saying is partially correct. What is partially correct? Partially correct.
Saying that more right-wing policies are not the solution to this problem.
One second. Please understand. You are partially right. Because instead of actively improving cold storage and transportation facilities that will help ease food inflation in India, the government is practically outsourcing that job to companies that will come and pump FDI in the retail sector. And as you rightly say, even that money has not happened. But why don't you... But Lord Desai, the fundamental issue is this. The government thought 6 months back, we'll move FDI in retail and the economy will open up. People will start pouring in money into this country. We'll be indecisive on everything else, not build roads, not act for 4 years. But this is going to be the magic wand. Did they get it so badly wrong, Lord Desai?
No, I think, but the government showed a lot of indecision on FDI in sort of channel retail thing, but also in implementing single item retail, like with IKEA. The government made IKEA's life so difficult that potential investors look at India and say, of course they would like us to come, but there is no welcome. They not come naturally. They will want to be quite sure that there is stability. And until after the election, money is not going to come to India, which is serious, long-term, direct investment money. Everybody is waiting for the election outcome. So whatever the government may do about FDI, I think it is welcome.
No, but
I don't mind. I'm not like Prasenjit. I think they should have more foreign direct. But it is not going to come because the uncertainty is very large. But secondly, let me say this: the inflation which has been a bad problem since 2009. Is not due to global reasons. The government has neglected to tackle inflation all these years, and now again it has gone up. Now this is where I think the real problem is going to be that ordinary citizens suffer from inflation. They don't look at larger political issues. They know inflation is bad, and because the government has not been able to tackle inflation, and still is not tackling inflation, that is going to damage the government quite a lot. Now,
so I want an answer tonight from the government.
Some serious concern for inflation.
I want a simple answer tonight.
Can I add one more thing, Arnav, here?
Yes, sir.
To what Lord Desai just said. While completely agreeing with him, I think that one of the biggest failures of this government has been in tackling the inflation problem. And you see how it has tried to tackle the inflation problem. We all know, as economists, I don't know whether Lord Desai would agree, but many economists have pointed out that there are very serious supply side issues. Your agriculture is not doing well, your distribution is not doing well, your public distribution system is not doing well, and you basically cannot, you have lost that battle. The problem is that the government wants the Reserve Bank of India, by hiking the interest rate, to solve the problem of inflation. Now it wants the Reserve Bank of India to hike the interest rate to solve the problem of capital outflows. As if you are talking about policy paralysis. The biggest policy paralysis that I find is that if the policy
okay, so here's a question.
Only to the RBI and the single instrument of the interest rate.
Okay.
As if there is no other policy instrument the government
Mr. Bhargav, Mr. Bhargav's coming.
The Reserve Bank of India is supposed to solve all our problems.
Mr. Bhargav, and I can tell you so many phone calls into our newsroom tell me a lot of people are getting involved. They want me to ask a question to the Congress representative at the end, which I will, but after Mr. Bhargav. Yes, Mr. Bhargav.
Arnab, one of the biggest weaknesses of government, including this government and most governments in the past, has been the ability to implement what they plan on paper and make policies on paper. Most policies, most projects, most schemes remain on paper. When they're implemented, there are delays, and when they're operated, the operating results are far from what was expected of it. The results go somewhere haywire. We rarely get more than 60% of capacity utilization in the correct way. And I think that is one of the causes of inflation, because you spend a lot of money, you don't get results.
Yeah. So
most of our economists, most of our people want more and more money allocated for schemes and projects and sectors without bothering about the outcome.
Well, I think
India and the governments are not outcome oriented at all.
We're not. Well, but people are. And no, 1 second. I have a question for the Congress representative. Now, Mr. Rajiv Gowda, somebody sent me an SMS, and I want to share this with you. In 2004, we were 53rd from the bottom in the UNICEF World Children's Report. Today, we are 46th from the bottom, and we are behind Gabon and Senegal. Lesotho and Kyrgyzstan rank higher adult literacy than India. Our HDI ranking, because you go after Gujarat on HDI ranking, in 2004 was 127 out of 177. After 9 years, we are 136th. Anyway, I'm not even getting into that. Today, address the middle class Indian, Mr. Rajiv Gowda. He can't buy ACs, he can't buy cars.
Arnab.
Many have stopped buying scooters. 1 minute. EMIs have gone up. Prices have gone through the roof. Houses cannot be bought because house EMIs are also going up. Vegetable prices have doubled. Jobs are going. Education, sending your kids abroad is impossible. Tell me, Mr. Gowda, who are you benefiting with your economic vision?
Arnab, take a look at that inflation that everyone's been talking about. What is the wholesale price index today? What was it a year ago? It has come down. Okay, it's now in the 4% something range, right? So basically, things have been improved.
What about consumer price
now,
inflation?
On a variety of other factors that you talk about,
Sir,
One
consumer
second.
price inflation,
some of
consumer
the other
price
issues.
index in
For
June is
example, when we talk
9.71%.
when we talk, I'm aware. The basic issue is when you want to improve things and get rid of the sclerosis in the larger economy, one of the things that we want to move towards faster is the goods and services tax. Has there been cooperation? Has there been some way we can actually, create that common market which lowers all those costs? No. Every time we face opposition from political parties that should be coming together in the cause of this stronger Indian economy, and instead we get barriers all the time. What policy paralysis are you talking about? Is that caused by the government or is it caused
Ravi
by
Shankar Prasad's time to respond. No, it's,
please ask Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad.
I will ask him.
Yeah.
I will ask him, but I will correct you before that. I will correct you because I will not allow wholesale price index to be the indicator of inflation. I would like to tell you, look at between May and June. In May, 9.31%. In June, almost touching 10%. In 1 month, that is consumer price index. And let me tell you, the reality on the streets and the vegetable markets is much worse. Much, much worse, Mr. Rajiv Gowda. Ravi Shankar Prasad, finally the blame is at your doorstep. I think you need to respond. Deputy Leader of the Opposition's last response to the Congress spokesperson.
Because the problem is that he had nothing else to say in his defense. Or no, first of all, this whole fictional difference between wholesale and consumer. Tell Mr. Gowda to come with me in the company of Arnab Goswami on the footpaths of Delhi as to how much a thali of a poor man costs. Okay. And this whole difference between wholesale and consumer would become so ugly and cruel, people will realize that. Therefore, come on, let's try to understand. Don't rub salt over the wound of people who are suffering so much because of price rise. It is your creation. And I would like to ask this question today, Arnab Goswami. I had the privilege to serve in that government of Shri Vajpayee. How is it and why is it that in the 6 years of Vajpayee government, inflation was under control, price was under control, people had forgotten their ration card? Why it is? Even the gas cylinder was under control. These are too well known because of the reasons I have explained earlier. Now coming to this whole issue of GST, since I am a member of the Finance Standing Committee, I know a little more than Mr. Gowda. Many Congress state governments have also opposed it. Not in principle of GST, but they say their revenue stream is going to be compromised seriously. Therefore, do something that our revenue stream remains intact. That is a very legitimate concern. And Mr. Chidambaram had to announce a 9,000 crore of bailout package, including for Congress states. Therefore, Mr. Deve Gowda, please do some homework. Is it your case that only because of GST uncertainty, the entire economy is in a mess?
No, he's not saying that.
That
He's
is
not
the
saying that.
understanding of the very eminent. He meant that.
No, he meets the whole gamut of your lack of cooperation in Parliament, so that's what he's talking about, I presume.
One of the factors.
Fair enough. I can only tell him that the GST issue, we have always been supportive. Address his concern. That is very important. That is not the BJP government concern. That is the CPM government concern also. That is Mamata Banerjee concern also. That is Jalita concern also. And even Congress government is concerned.
The debate on the economy.
But I'm on a larger issue where I agree with. I will agree with Lord Desai. And what is that? If this government could not invoke the trust of the people in the last 9 years, or in the 4.5 years of this regime, then the coming 8 months are now, they are not going to invoke any trust at all. I'm sorry to say, but the hard reality is that Indian economy
with a
will
promise
continue to suffer all this in the coming 4, 5, 6 months.
With a promise to every.
People are waiting for the new government, and the people are going to change this government. I'm quite sure.
With a promise,
and surely, with
a promise to return to this debate.
No, but I want to say something.
Are you coming in the Congress's defense again?
See, yeah, I am not coming in the Congress's defense. I am coming in the defense of the Indian people.
Congress doesn't need defense.
I think the Congress, they have become indefensible. They have become indefensible. But the people of this country needs to be defended. So the point is that first of all, Mr. Prasad should also introspect that had the Vajpayee government been so good as he claims to be, why did they lose the elections in 2004? The basic problem is, be it the Vajpayee government,
we have debated it ad nauseam,
the entire phase of the UPA government.
We are on economy only. We are only an economy.
No, but that is precisely what I am saying. That broadly, be it the Vajpayee government or the UPA government over the past 9 years, especially the past 4 years, have been in more of the same. That is the problem.
I'm
and
glad you...
more of the same is today taking us towards the path of destruction. What the country and the people need is a complete reorientation of the economic policies, which neither the Congress nor the BJP...
Sir, but may I remind you, Prasenjit Bose, one second, I just want to wrap up one thing. And don't respond to what I say, we'll debate that another time. In the 4 years, I'm glad you said 9 years, 4 years, when you were with the CPM, you were with the government, you share some of the blame, and in that period, you walked out of the government, a foreign policy issue, you never put pressure on the government on an economic issue to the point, Prakash Karat never said, I'm going to pull out support on an economic issue, so you stand corrected on that as well. Mr. Prasenjit Bose, let us remember this. We will come back to this debate.
Disinvestment.
We will come back to this debate.
Don't forget
You didn't pull out support on disinvestment, sir. No, you didn't. Gentlemen, we'll follow the story because this debate matters to you. I know this debate matters to the people of this country. So we debate secularism and majority-minority politics all the time. But on this debate, I can assure you, Times Now and the News Hour will return on this subject very often because this debate matters. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on News Hour Debate 1 tonight.